So for today's episode of Beta Bully, I'll be covering the evolution of Jimmy Hopkins, starting from his E3 appearance to his Anniversary Edition appearance. I won't be covering removed clothing in this video since I want to cover Jimmy's appearances since Bully's development in 2005. So let's get started with our earliest known version of Jimmy Hopkins, and that is E3 2005. This image of Jimmy, which you're seeing on screen now, is the earliest known screenshot of Bully and was showcased at E3 2005 obviously. We can tell here Rockstar didn't change Jimmy's overall design much, as he still has his buzz cut and signature blue vest. But here we can see Jimmy has gone through a load of changes. Jimmy looks slimmer as opposed to his slightly stocky build. Jimmy's vest doesn't have the Bullworth crest, although this is probably because Rockstar was still designing the Bullworth crest at the time, as the crest went through multiple versions. Jimmy isn't wearing school slacks here either, instead he's wearing some black trousers, and he's wearing some boots, rather than his white sneakers. If we take a look at Jimmy's face, it's clearly much lower quality here, and we can see his face is much less detailed and it doesn't look as high poly as his PS2 version. In another screenshot that shows Jimmy with a dodgeball, we can see Jimmy is now wearing a watch, which he doesn't by default in the final game. When Rockstar did add the crest to Jimmy's vest, it didn't exactly go down too well, as the logo is horribly stretched. And finally, for our E3 Jimmy, it appears Jimmy actually had a completely different fighting style, as in this screenshot we can see it looks like Jimmy is doing a running punch, something he cannot and does not do in the final game. I like to call this one pre-release Jimmy, as this version of Jimmy still exists in pre-release PS2 screenshots and of course in the game's files under the file name Player. Now while not an appearance change, it is still a pre-release change, as Jimmy Hopkins had a completely different voice actor before release. As we all know, Jimmy Hopkins is voiced by Jerry Rosenthal in the final game, but he wasn't always voiced by Jerry. Sadly, the previous voice actor is unknown and we only have a slightly garbled audio file that exists in the final game. In this audio file, called Boys Dorm Room 04, we can hear snippets of a beta version of the Welcome to Bullworth ending cutscene, where Jimmy's beta voice actor says, or at least what I can hear, "You guys mind leaving while I settle in and unpack," alongside other beta stuff like Pete telling Jimmy if he wants to hang out, he can meet downstairs.
Just made Bullworth of an inevitable journey to prison. You guys want to give me some time to settle in and get unpacked? You're not too interested in yourself, friend. You can't stand you already. Jimmy, if you want to hang out, we'll be in the dorm downstairs.
Pete and Gary's voice actors never changed. It's unknown how long this guy voiced Jimmy for before he was replaced by Jerry, nor do we know his reasons for not voicing Jimmy. It could be Rockstar got this voice actor in as a placeholder while holding auditions, or maybe the other guy quit. Sadly, we'll never know. Now, appearance wise, Jimmy's vest went through a few small changes. This being the back of his vest had a slight red mark, and the crest had the full Bullworth Academy logo. Jimmy's black trousers are now replaced with jeans, but he still keeps his beta boots. However, one final change our pre-release Jimmy went through was at some point his boots were replaced with sneakers, much like they are in the final game. Though this has probably changed, since Jimmy dresses like a member of the Bullies clique. Well, at least the beta versions anyway, and Rockstar probably didn't want to confuse new players into thinking the Bullies were Jimmy's clique. Now we arrive at PlayStation 2 Jimmy. Before somebody says it, the PlayStation 2 version of Bully is the same version released on PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. This will be Jimmy's official final appearance, as in the re-releases being Scholarship Edition and Anniversary, Jimmy's school uniform remains the same from here on out. Jimmy's vest now has the Academy crest but without the sides or the Bullworth mascot on top. Jimmy's jeans are now replaced with school slacks, and of course Jimmy now wears white sneakers as opposed to boots. Now we move forward to 2008, where Rockstar have announced Bully Scholarship Edition, coming to the Nintendo Wii, Xbox 360 and PC. However, the Wii version of Scholarship Edition is a lot different compared to the Xbox 360 and PC versions. Strangely, the PS2 pre-release Jimmy was actually used for promotional screenshots for the Nintendo Wii version of Bully. Even though the Wii version is newer than the PlayStation 2 version, the Wii version seems to be using an early version of Jimmy Hopkins, as the final Wii version has the little red mark on the back of Jimmy's vest that the pre-release PS2 Jimmy had. While there are a load more changes in the Wii versions compared to the Xbox 360 and PC, this is the only change that I can actually see for Jimmy. For the Scholarship Edition releases for the Xbox 360, Xbox One and PC, only Jimmy's head went through a slight change, as you can see here. The texturing of Jimmy's vest also went through a very slight change, with the line textures not being as obvious in the Scholarship Editions of the game. Also, unlike the PS2 version of Jimmy, Rockstar re-added the full Bullworth crest to Jimmy's vest. Although, as seen in this pre-release screenshot, that wasn't the case before release. Now we arrive to the final release of Bully, the Anniversary Edition. Jimmy seems to keep his Scholarship Edition looks here, as I can't see any noticeable differences. Considering the fact that Anniversary Edition Jimmy looks no different from his Scholarship Edition versions, I think it's safe to assume that this will be Jimmy's official final release if Bully ever gets re-released for PS5 or Xbox One X or whatever. So that's it for this video, and thank you for watching.